Gentlemen, let me tell you about something that puzzled researchers for decades. On the southern coast of Crete, there is a population of men who simply refuse to age the way Western medicine says they should. Men well into their 80s and 90s with blood vessels so flexible, so responsive, so robust, that scientists kept checking their equipment thinking something was wrong. Their cardiovascular markers looked like men in their 40s. Their circulation stayed strong. Their energy and physical vitality persisted long past the age when most men in America have quietly accepted that decline is just inevitable. And when researchers dug into what made these men so remarkably different, one thread emerged over and over again. Every single evening, these men consumed a generous portion of extra virgin olive oil, mixed with specific herbs and compounds, as a nightly ritual passed down through generations. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, a urologist with over a decade of clinical experience. And today I'm going to show you exactly what those compounds are, why consuming them before bed specifically is so much more powerful than any other time of day, and how stirring this combination into olive oil every night can genuinely transform what you experience every single morning. Stay with me through this entire video, because the fourth ingredient has a mechanism that most physicians have never even heard of. And it might be the most important one of all. Before we get into the solution, I need you to understand what is actually happening inside your body right now. Because most men I see in my practice don't have a clear picture of this, and that missing picture is exactly why they keep struggling. Here is the truth. After the age of 50, the endothelium, that thin, delicate lining inside every single blood vessel in your body, begins losing its ability to do one of its most critical jobs. And that job is producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the master signal your body uses to tell blood vessels to relax and open wide. Without it, vessels stiffen, blood flow slows. The delivery of oxygen and nutrients to every tissue in your body, including the tissues that matter most to you as a man, becomes sluggish and unreliable. And the result? You already know it. Weak or absent morning erections. Fatigue before the day even begins. Brain fog that lingers through the morning hours. Cold hands and feet. A general sense that your body just isn't responding the way it used to. Now here is what most men don't realize. And I want you to stay with me here because this changes everything. While you sleep, your body actually attempts to repair and regenerate the endothelial lining. Your cardiovascular system has a built-in overnight maintenance window, a period where, under the right conditions, it actively works to restore the very function you've been losing. But without the right compounds present in your system before that window opens, the repair is incomplete. You wake up with yesterday's vascular damage still sitting there unchanged, waiting to accumulate a little more today. That is the cycle most men are trapped in. And that is exactly what we are going to break. I had a patient, 67 years old, retired engineer, who came into my office convinced he needed a prescription. Morning erections gone for almost 2 years. Energy failing. He described it as someone had turned the dial down on his entire body. We ran his blood work. Testosterone was low normal. Cardiovascular markers were borderline. Nothing dramatic enough on paper to explain how bad he felt. Before we reached for a prescription, I told him, try one thing consistently for 90 days. He came back 4 months later. His flow-mediated dilation, a clinical measure of how well blood vessels open in response to increased blood flow, had improved measurably. Morning erections had returned. Someone turned the dial back up, he said. The science backs this up. A 2019 study in the European Journal of Nutrition found that olive oil polyphenol measurably improved endothelial function markers in men over 55. Research in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology has confirmed that the nocturnal cardiovascular repair cycle is biologically real and clinically significant. The overnight window exists. The question is simply whether your body has the materials it needs to use it. And that brings us to the olive oil and what you need to stir into it. So let's start with the foundation itself, because extra virgin olive oil is not just a cooking fat. And I want you to understand why it is the base for everything we are building here. Extra virgin olive oil contains over 30 distinct polyphenolic compounds, each with documented biological activity. Three of them are particularly critical for what we are doing tonight. The first is hydroxytyrosol, one of the most potent natural antioxidants ever measured. Its antioxidant capacity exceeds vitamin C, vitamin E, and coenzyme Q10. When you consume it, hydroxytyrosol is absorbed into your bloodstream and distributed to your tissues, where it protects the newly regenerating endothelial cells from the oxidative damage that would otherwise compromise them before they even fully mature. Think of it as a shield around the repair work your body is trying to do. The second key compound is oleuropein, which directly activates endothelial nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme responsible for producing nitric oxide in your blood vessel lining. More active enos means more nitric oxide. More nitric oxide means better vasodilation. Better vasodilation means blood moves the way it is supposed to by morning. The third is oleocanthal. This compound has anti-inflammatory effects that are pharmacologically similar to ibuprofen, reducing the inflammatory prostaglandins that damage your vessel walls every single day. Chronic vascular inflammation is one of the primary drivers of circulatory decline in men over 50. Oleocanthal helps ensure that the inflammatory damage accumulating during the day gets resolved overnight rather than compounded. And then there is the oleic acid, roughly 70 to 80% of olive oil's composition. This monounsaturated fat is an exceptional solvent for fat-soluble bioactive compounds. And many of the most powerful natural compounds for vascular health are fat-soluble, meaning they dissolve in fat but not in water. When you stir these ingredients into olive oil, the oleic acid dissolves them, holds them in solution, and dramatically enhances their absorption across the intestinal wall. Olive oil is not just one of the ingredients. It is the delivery vehicle that makes every other ingredient work better. Now, let's talk about what goes into it. The first ingredient is raw cacao powder, and the synergy it creates with olive oil at bedtime is both scientifically elegant and practically remarkable. Raw cacao contains epicatechin, one of the most extensively studied flavonols for cardiovascular health in modern research. Epicatechin works through a dual mechanism that makes it genuinely extraordinary. First, it directly activates endothelial nitric oxide synthase, the same enzyme that oleuropein from your olive oil is already supporting. But here is the key: epicatechin activates enos through the PI3K/ACT signaling pathway, while oleuropein activates it through a different phosphorylation cascade entirely. When two compounds activate the same target enzyme through completely different upstream routes, the combined effect on enzyme activity is greater than either achieves alone. That is pharmacological synergy in its most precise form. Second, and this is the part one really want you to hear, epicatechin inhibits an enzyme called phosphodiesterase type 5. PDE5 is the enzyme that breaks down cyclic GMP, which is the downstream messenger that carries out the vasodilation signal from nitric oxide. By slowing the destruction of cyclic GMP, epicatechin allows the vasodilation signal to persist longer and accumulate to higher levels. Gentlemen, PDE5 inhibition is the exact same mechanism used by the most well-known pharmaceutical treatments for erectile dysfunction. Epicatechin achieves it naturally through food while you sleep. A 2012 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated measurable improvements in flow-mediated dilation following epicatechin consumption. And because epicatechin is a fat-soluble flavonol, dissolving it in olive oil significantly enhances its absorption compared to any water-based preparation. The second ingredient is turmeric, with a pinch of black pepper, and the reason for that pairing will make complete sense in a moment. Turmeric contains curcumin, one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds identified by modern science. Curcumin works by inhibiting the NF-kappa B pathway, the master switch controlling inflammatory gene expression throughout your entire body. By modulating this pathway, curcumin reduces the production of the inflammatory cytokines, prostaglandins, and adhesion molecules that damage your endothelial lining and directly impair its ability to produce nitric oxide. A 2012 clinical trial published in the Nutrition Journal found that curcumin supplementation produced improvements in flow-mediated dilation comparable to those achieved by moderate aerobic exercise. That is a remarkable finding for something you simply stir into oil before bed. Now, the challenge with curcumin is absorption. On its own, its oral bioavailability is less than 1%. You could consume spoonfuls of turmeric and get almost nothing from it. This is where the black pepper comes in. Black pepper contains piperine, a natural compound that boosts curcumin absorption by an astonishing 2,000% by inhibiting the liver enzymes that would otherwise break curcumin down before it can work. But there is a third layer here that the competitor videos never mention. Curcumin is a lipophilic compound, meaning it dissolves readily in fat. When you stir turmeric into olive oil, curcumin is solubilized in the oleic acid matrix, protected from degradation in the digestive tract and delivered through the fat absorption pathway in the intestinal wall. Fat solubilization from olive oil plus enzyme inhibition from piperine creates an absorption system that is dramatically superior to either enhancement alone. And there is one more layer of elegance here. Oleocanthal from the olive oil inhibits COX enzymes. Curcumin inhibits NF-kappa B. Two different anti-inflammatory targets, two different mechanisms, working simultaneously during the overnight repair window. Together, they provide broader vascular protection than either compound could achieve alone. The third ingredient is ashwagandha root powder. And this one addresses something I consider one of the most overlooked threats to overnight vascular recovery in men over 50, the cortisol problem. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen. Its active compounds, called withanolides, have been demonstrated in multiple clinical trials to significantly reduce cortisol levels, improve stress resilience, and support healthy hormonal balance. And why does that matter so deeply for your circulation? Because cortisol is one of the most destructive forces acting on your cardiovascular system at night. When cortisol remains elevated during sleep, which is increasingly common in men dealing with chronic stress, disrupted sleep habits, or metabolic changes after 50, it directly interferes with virtually every aspect of overnight repair. Elevated nocturnal cortisol constricts blood vessels. It impairs nitric oxide production. It suppresses growth hormone release, the very hormone that drives tissue regeneration. It reduces testosterone production. And it prevents the deep sleep stages where the most significant physical recovery occurs. Essentially, high nighttime cortisol locks the repair crew out of the building. By reducing cortisol before sleep, ashwagandha creates the hormonal environment that allows deep restoration to actually happen. Research has shown that ashwagandha supplementation improves sleep quality scores, increases time spent in deep sleep stages, and reduces how long it takes to fall asleep. With lower cortisol and deeper sleep, the vascular repair work we have been building toward can proceed uninterrupted through the night. And there is a bonus. Ashwagandha has been shown in several studies to support healthy testosterone levels in men, and testosterone itself supports endothelial function and nitric oxide production. The withanolides are fat-soluble compounds, which means olive oil is once again the ideal carrier, significantly more effective than consuming ashwagandha in a capsule or mixed in water without a fat source. Now, the fourth ingredient. I saved this one for last because its mechanism is the most unexpected, and its synergy with olive oil at bedtime is the most elegant of everything we have discussed. That ingredient is pomegranate seed oil. Not pomegranate juice, not pomegranate extract. The oil pressed specifically from the seeds. Pomegranate seed oil contains an extraordinarily rare fatty acid called punicic acid, which makes up roughly 65 to 80% of its total fatty acid content. Punicic acid is a conjugated linolenic acid found in virtually no other commonly available food source. And its effects on vascular health are genuinely fascinating. Punicic acid modulates inflammatory pathways through mechanisms involving peroxisome proliferator-activated receptors, nuclear receptors that regulate the expression of genes involved in inflammation, fat metabolism, and glucose handling at the cellular level. By activating these receptors, punicic acid helps shift the body's metabolic and inflammatory state in a direction that supports vascular health and healthy blood flow from the inside out. But here is the mechanism that most health professionals have never heard of. Pomegranate seed oil enhances the activity of an enzyme called paraoxinase, 1. PON1. PN1 is produced by your liver, travels in your bloodstream attached to HDL cholesterol, and its primary function is to protect LDL cholesterol from oxidation. And oxidized LDL is one of the most destructive agents in your entire cardiovascular system. It triggers inflammatory cascades in your artery walls, promotes arterial plaque formation, damages endothelial cells directly, and impairs nitric oxide production at its source. By enhancing PON1 activity, pomegranate seed oil helps prevent LDL oxidation, protecting your endothelium from lipid-mediated damage at the exact window when your blood vessels are most actively repairing themselves. When you combine pomegranate seed oil with extra virgin olive oil, the two oils blend beautifully, complementary fatty acid profiles that together support cell membrane health and flexibility in your blood vessel walls. The flavor is mild and slightly nutty. You will barely notice it. Now I want to bring all of this together for you, because when you see the full picture of what is happening during those overnight hours, it changes how seriously you take this nightly habit. And it should. Here is the analogy I use with my patients. Think of your blood vessels like a road worn down every day by traffic, stress, inflammation, oxidative damage, cortisol spikes. Every night, your body sends a repair crew. They work during a specific biological window, parasympathetic nervous system dominant, blood pressure dropping, and what researchers call nocturnal dipping, growth hormone releasing impulses, endothelial cells cycling through their most active renewal period. Your body built this system. It runs every single night, but the repair crew can only fix what they have materials for. Most men go to bed with nothing in their system that supports this process. The crew shows up, and the supply truck never arrives. The road stays damaged. And every morning, you wake up right where you left off. This mixture is the supply truck. Here is what each compound does when it arrives. Hydroxytyrosol shields the regenerating endothelial cells from oxidative damage before they fully mature. Oleuropein primes enos, your body's nitric oxide engine, so it is active and running during peak repair hours. Epicatechin amplifies that through a second independent pathway, while simultaneously inhibiting PDE5, so the vasodilation signal persists longer and reaches higher levels. Curcumin, solubilized in the olive oil fat matrix and supercharged by piperine, quiets the NF-kappa B inflammatory cascade. Oleocanthal hits the COX enzyme pathway at the same time. Two anti-inflammatory mechanisms, two different targets, broader coverage than either achieves alone. Ashwagandha removes the single biggest disruptor of this entire process, elevated nocturnal cortisol. With cortisol down, blood vessels relax, growth hormone flows, deep sleep deepens. The repair environment fully opens. And pomegranate seed oil's PON1 enhancement guards the freshly repaired endothelium against oxidized LDL, so the work done overnight isn't undermined before morning arise. Each night builds on the last. 90 nights produces a vascular baseline measurably different from where you started. And your morning is the report card circulation, firmness, mental clarity, warmth in your extremities. That is your body telling you how well the overnight repair went. When these ingredients are present consistently, that report card changes. Now let me give you exactly what you need to do. No vague instructions. No guessing. Here is the precise formulation, step by step. You will need 5 things. 1 tablespoon of cold-pressed, high polyphenol extra virgin olive oil. 1 to 2 teaspoons of raw cacao powder, and this detail matters. It must be raw and unprocessed. Dutch processed cocoa has been treated within. Alkali that destroys epicatechin almost entirely. Check the label. You want raw cacao, not processed cocoa. Third, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric plus a generous pinch of freshly ground black pepper, and I mean generous. Do not be timid with the pepper. Fourth, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of ashwagandha root extract powder. Look for the KSM 66 form on the label. It is a clinically studied extract standardized for withanolide content, and it is significantly more reliable than generic ashwagandha powder. Fifth, 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of cold-pressed pomegranate seed oil, pure, undiluted, no additives. Read the label. Some products dilute pomegranate seed oil with cheaper carrier oils. You want 100% cold-pressed pomegranate seed oil. Here is how to prepare it. Start with your tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil in a small bowl or cup. Add the pomegranate seed oil and stir. The two oils blend immediately. Then add your dry ingredients: cacao powder first, then turmeric, then the black pepper, then the ashwagandha. Stir vigorously for about 30 seconds until everything is fully incorporated and you have a thick, rich, golden brown paste. That texture tells you the fat matrix has properly dissolved the powders. Consume it directly from the spoon. Now, the timing. This is not a detail to skip over. The optimal window is 30 to 60 minutes before bed, not immediately after a heavy meal, when your digestive system is already overwhelmed. You want these compounds absorbed and circulating during the early hours of sleep, when the repair cycle is at its peak. Testosterone and growth hormone production both peak between roughly 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. in men who maintain consistent sleep schedules. Your goal is to have this mixture absorbed and active before that window fully opens. One practical tip that makes this dramatically easier to sustain long-term: pre-mix your dry ingredients in a small glass jar at the start of each week. Measure out 7 servings of cacao, turmeric, pepper, and ashwagandha, combine them in the jar, shake well, and store it on your counter. Every night, all you do is scoop one portion into your oils and stir. The whole process takes under 2 minutes. A few supporting habits that multiply your results. Keep a consistent bedtime. The hormonal repair cycle is anchored to your circadian rhythm, and irregular sleep disrupts it regardless of what you consume. A brief 10-minute walk after dinner primes your circulation before the mixture begins absorbing. And avoid alcohol within 2 hours of taking this mixture. Alcohol directly suppresses overnight growth hormone release and undermines the very repair process you are trying to support. You can find raw cacao powder, Cacao, 66 ashwagandha, and cold-pressed pomegranate seed oil at most health food stores or online. The quality of what you buy matters. Spend a few extra dollars on reputable brands. The difference in active compound content between a quality product and a cheap generic is not small. Before you start, I need to give you some important information. Because as much as I want you to experience the benefits of this protocol, I want you to do it safely. First, if you are currently taking blood thinners, turmeric and pomegranate compounds both have mild anticoagulant properties. If you are on warfarin, aspirin therapy, Plavix, or any other anticoagulant medication, please speak with your physician before adding this mixture to your routine. The interaction is not severe, but it is real, and your doctor needs to know. Second, cacao and sleep timing. Raw cacao contains theobromine, a mild stimulant. Keep your dose to 1 teaspoon maximum and take the mixture no later than 60 minutes before bed. If you are particularly sensitive to stimulants, start with half a teaspoon and assess how your sleep is affected before increasing. Third, ashwagandha and thyroid medications. Ashwagandha can influence thyroid hormone levels. If you are taking levothyroxine or any other thyroid medication, check with your prescribing physician before adding ashwagandha to your nightly routine. This is a simple conversation that can prevent an unnecessary interaction. Fourth, and I cannot emphasize this enough, quality is not optional here. Refined olive oil, Dutch processed cocoa, generic ashwagandha powder with no standardization, and diluted pomegranate seed oil will not produce the results we are talking about. The bioactive compounds that make this protocol work are either absent or destroyed in low-quality versions. This is not about spending a fortune. It is about spending wisely on the right products. And finally, this mixture is a powerful support for your vascular health, but it is not a substitute for medical care. I'm begging you, gentlemen, if your morning erections have been consistently absent for more than 3 months, or if you are experiencing any cardiovascular symptoms, chest tightness, shortness of breath, leg pain, or cramping when you walk, please see a urologist or a cardiologist. These can be early warning signs of serious vascular disease. Do not try to manage that with olive oil alone. Get evaluated. The two approaches are not mutually exclusive, but medical assessment must come first. So, gentlemen, here is my challenge for you. 30 consecutive nights. Every evening, without exception, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. That thick, golden brown paste right off the spoon. As you go through those 30 nights, track 3 things every morning: the quality of your morning circulation, your energy level in the first hour after waking, and the warmth in your hands and feet. Write it down, even just a number from 1 to 10. After 30 days, look back at day 1 and compare. The data your own body gives you will be more convincing than anything I can tell you today. If this gave you something real today, hit that subscribe button. Every week, I bring you evidence-based protocols exactly like this one, grounded in real science, designed for real men over 50 who refuse to accept that decline is the only option. Share this with someone who needs it, because every man deserves to wake up feeling like the repair crew actually showed up. This is Dr. Lila Romano, and I will see you in the next video.